What's up, guys? Here with you, FC Wonderkid, episode 128, here with my guy, Bretson. How are you?
Doing well, Alex. I am excited for match week 3 Champions League. But before we get there, we've got the Premier League. We've got to go to the Eredivisie. We've got to go all around the world and talk about some craziness. Chelsea is doing well, I think, right? That Chelsea-Arsenal game was fun. The Merseyside derby. We got a lot to talk about. But I'd imagine you can't get enough of this football, huh?
I can't get enough of it, Bretson. And don't forget to comment down below all your thoughts about episode 128, because yes, we're going to go bold about a lot of topics in this podcast. And yes, Chelsea are looking different now, okay? They haven't lost in their last, 4 games? And it's a good reason to smile now. Cole Palmer is the difference of this Chelsea team. There's literally a before and after Cole Palmer right now. And Cole Palmer has 3 goals and assists in his last 4 games for Chelsea. He is the difference, and I love the confidence in taking that penalty. I'm not saying Sterling would miss it, but you love to see a lad that is confident enough to make his team succeed. £40 million is starting to be a bargain. Do you agree with me, Bretton?
I would agree with you, actually. I think you're absolutely right when it comes down to it. There is a before and an after Cole Palmer. I mean, he's direct. He's exactly what they need right now. And Chelsea in this match, I think, won about 75 to 80 minutes of it. And then I wouldn't say they fell apart, but obviously they wound up drawing the game. And I'm going to say it right now. This is the first time that I saw Pochettino actually coach this team, right? It was the first time I felt tactically Chelsea was on top. Even though, their XG is higher, their analytics, whatever you want to talk about, this was one of the first times that I was like, oh, wow. I mean, this seems like a well-coached team. This seems like a team that is going to start to pop off in the future. But hey, I think the only bad person on the day was Robert Sanchez, and that hasn't been every day for Chelsea since he's come in. So you can maybe give him a little bit of a mulligan, but Cole Palmer definitely deserves all the plaudits he's getting right now.
Facts.
But they should have won that game, no?
Yes, it's true, but they're facing Arsenal though. Like if you told Chelsea fans that they would draw Arsenal and they were beating them 2-0 a month back, they'd say, look. We can't get ahead of ourselves. The expectations were that Chelsea weren't even going to be fighting for the top 6 with their last games. But things are changing right now. And you mentioned Pochettino. Pochettino in this game managed to show a lot of his worth. And now this team is a team viewed with a lot of stars. 2-3 months back, this was a bad team. A team with no habits. A team with bad players. It's changing the narrative. And I gotta give a really good shout out to Pochettino for doing that. And yes, the midfield too. Enzo and Caicedo are still not in their full best form at Chelsea. That's a fact. But Conor Gallagher is, okay? The pressing off ball is unreal, and the leadership qualities that he's showing are absolutely great. Tackles, interceptions. Cole Palmer has been the best midfielder of Chelsea in the last few games, next to Enzo and Caicedo. So I really love to see that. When Mason Mount leaves, Cole Palmer is now turning up and being the replacement of the academy. So that's I was quite surprised with Cole Palmer. Like he's really he's playing really well. Conor Gallagher. Conor Gallagher.
Conor Gallagher. I knew you were talking about him the whole time. I just didn't want to, stop and slow your roll there. But yes, no, Conor Gallagher, there's a reason why. Whether it's Poch, whether it's whoever came before him, right, at Chelsea. I mean, Conor Gallagher does find his way in there. And a lot of it are the intangibles. We've often talked about, I think when he was playing on loan at Palace, we just loved his engine. But there's also a good footballer in there. Right. And you're starting to see that. Now, it was a footballer that, a lot of people were kind of turning on in these early dark days of the Chelsea experience under Pochettino. But you can see that he is going to be a very, very big piece for them moving forward. And you mentioned Caicedo, you mentioned Enzo. I'm going to say it. I think that they made guys like Martin Odegaard an absolute non-factor in this match. So I think while it wasn't their best game, I think they're really, their ceiling is so far from where we are right now, obviously, and they're only going to get better. I think it was a very, very effective game from that midfield for the majority of it because Martin Odegaard was nowhere to be seen. And that's not normal for Odegaard. He does not disappear like that all the time, although I know there are some people out there trying to paint him as somebody that disappears against quote-unquote bigger teams. I'm not one of those guys. So anyway, I think there's life under Pochettino. I loved this match because they won 75, 80 minutes of it. I definitely think that was a mistake goal. No matter what Mudryk says, that was a mistake goal, but it doesn't matter. Still went in the net, and I think the biggest detractors on the day were the goalkeepers. You know, I really just think it was a bad day for Sanchez. And I have to ask you, Alex, the whole Raya over Ramsdale over Raya stuff, doesn't this feel like, cutting your nose off in spite of your face? Doesn't this feel like, what's the other cliche, shooting yourself in the foot? It feels like you created drama where there didn't need to be drama. And now you've got Ramsdale over Raya over Ramsdale. Well, if you're going to take this one game, I would have Ramsdale as starter for the rest of the year. Right?
That's a bold shout because I put Raya still better than Ramsdale. I do understand that Mudryk goal came from a Raya mistake, but that won't happen often. David Raya is a very competent keeper. David Raya adds a lot in the progressive play of this Arsenal team. But yes, I do think he did look bad in that mistake. And I'm sorry, yes, you corrected me. You're totally right. Conor Gallagher is the player that has been unbelievable, okay, next to Enzo and Caicedo. And right now, Conor Gallagher, Enzo, and Caicedo can be mentioned in their last, let's say, 2 games that they're one of the most informed midfields in the Premier League, okay? And they're young. They are young. So let's wait and see what's going to happen in the rest of this season. But you mentioned Mykhailo Mudryk needed this goal. Mykhailo Mudryk has the work ethic, the discipline, the talent to be a world-class player. We were all waiting for the start of this legacy to happen. And I fully believe it will now after this Arsenal game. Mudryk is here to stay. Like, if you see the extra hours, the training sessions, what the teammates say about Mudryk, say he's a workaholic. And I love to hear things like that about a Ukrainian young winger like Mudryk. This is the first goal of the season, and I fully expect there are going to be a lot more. That's what he needed. A confidence booster. Like, I don't care if that was not intended or not. He's going to be more confident to do more shots a lot more times. And that's what Mudryk needed. Like, the difference with Sterling and Mudryk is experience. Because Mudryk is faster. His decision-making is phenomenal. We've seen it in the Champions League in the past. And yes, he is rapid, okay? So, that, like, I loved it. I loved to see Mudryk do this.
Yeah, it's been a weekend for the maligned figures of the Premier League. In Mykhailo Mudryk getting a goal, Harry Maguire getting a Player of the Match award. I don't know what else is going to happen this weekend, but hey, it's a good start for those that get ridiculed on X/Twitter quite frequently. So yeah, I mean, you love to see it. Mudryk obviously is. He's got those physical tools that just can't be matched. And yes, if Pochettino can figure out how to maybe simplify or make him not overthink, and just play, obviously he's good enough for some goals. It's whether or not he's good enough to become a dominant winger like Raheem Sterling once was. Or like what Chelsea needs, frankly, and what they need to grow into. So hey. Another step in the right direction for Chelsea. It hasn't even really been a month yet, but Alex, I feel like we're talking more positively about Chelsea, and I'm here for it.
No,
I didn't like that.
The list of players that now Pochettino has at Chelsea, like the list of players is now seen in the positive way. Now Chelsea are seen positively to have Malo Gusto. They are seen positively to have Enzo, Caicedo, Cole Palmer, Mudryk. So the truth is, all of these players are young talents and ballers. So if they're in the right spirit, the right culture that Pochettino could be nurturing, we're talking here of maybe a new era in the Premier League with Chelsea after Man City. But this is wishful thinking maybe. But let us know what you're thinking about the Blues, okay? In the comment section down below. But yes, Liverpool, the Merseyside derby. What a win, okay? A late win, but a win that you see Mo Salah once again in the score sheet. And Mo Salah this season has 9 Premier League games, 7 goals, 4 assists. That's 13 goal. That's 11 goal involvements, okay? And Mo Salah, no doubt in my mind, made the right decision to reject the Saudi League and stay in the Premier League another season. Liverpool are title contenders because of Salah and maybe Darwin Núñez too. That Darwin Núñez, all of his assists in the Premier League have been to Mo Salah, the 8 of them. It's absolutely mad that all of them go to Mo Salah. They got to start together. That is the best offensive duo right now for Liverpool in their team. Start Darwin with Mo Salah. It has to be the case. What?
It does, and I think it will. I also like seeing Ryan Gravenberch in there, getting that start in a big Merseyside derby. But Alex, I think we have to talk about the elephant in the room here. This is a very... I understand the Merseyside derby has been played for years, but Everton is not the Everton of old. Everton is very much a relegation battler right now. Abdoulaye Doucouré is their Premier League leading scorer. They have been hard done by the fact that they've lost a lot of one-goal games relatively recently. But if Liverpool did not win this game, I think there would have been more questions asked on one side than on the other. So when we're looking at this and we want to analyze it, yeah, it was the Mo Salah show. I thought he was going to actually complete his hat trick at some point. But I just don't see a future right now where Everton is not a championship club. And
relegated.
I would like to be wrong.
Relegated. Yeah. I think Burnley are worse than Everton right now, and they got it right with Zeki Abdouni.
Yeah, and you're absolutely right. And there are only, I think that's the biggest saving grace here, is that there's only 3 relegated clubs. So there are, as it stands, within the Premier League, 3 worse teams than Everton. But any which way, we haven't seen Burnley play even remotely decent football, except for that few, the 30 minutes that you and I watched in a Kashkesh pub on opening day versus Manchester City. But there's also Bournemouth, who I think at some point will catch a little bit of a run of form, but they have been really, really
for
poor
me,
under
Sheffield
Areola
United
so far.
Definitely gonna get relegated. Like definitely. Like, that's my team that are definitely relegation, but fathered. But yes, last thing on the Liverpool. On Liverpool, I really want to mention Dominique Szoboszlai is the number 8 that we all wished to have seen to come earlier. Okay, he is the best. I say the best buy this summer for Liverpool. The work rate, the solutions he offers offensively, even on set pieces. We all know Szoboszlai is an absolute baller. I'm gonna say Szoboszlai needs to be ranked in the same... I'm going to say it. Szoboszlai needs to be ranked in the same way as maybe an Odegaard, as a Maddison, and a Foden. He's got the talent. He's super responsible for his Hungarian national team, the captain, the leader, and now at Liverpool, he's taking the reins off the Gerrard soul. You know what I mean? The weight of the 8. Because that ain't easy. That ain't easy to do.
No.
Such a good job with the reputation and the weight of that jersey at the number 8.
And do you have any worries? Yeah, he absolutely is. Do you have any worries moving forward about this Robertson? It's Simic's time for Klopp and Liverpool, but do you have any worries moving forward about them missing Robertson for a relatively extended period of time?
Well, I think when it comes to January, I think they'll have to reinforce themselves if Robertson won't be available, let's say in the second stage of the season. But no, I think Simic can do the job. I think he's good enough, and even Arnold, man, even with his style of play, like I wouldn't be surprised if like they can offer a solution. They've had Joe Gomez too playing left back, and Like, he's
That's
got
true.
experience in that position, but obviously he's not Robertson. But I think Tsimikas can do the job until January comes through. I think so too. But it's
Yeah.
well point out. It's well point out. It's just Darwin Núñez. I can't understand how he doesn't start every game. Because when just seeing like the Liverpool offense, when Szoboszlai, Darwin Núñez, and Salah are all playing together, it's lethal. And if you see the goal of Mo Salah where they go like a super counter attack, all three players are in the Everton box in such a short period of time. So Szoboszlai even showed his physicality and matching the run of Mo Salah and Darwin. Like, it's such a good the triangulations between all three. Like, it's so good to see. And I think Liverpool, no doubts, seeing Liverpool with Darwin, Salah, Szoboszlai, Van Dijk looking better, Alisson looking great. Like, Liverpool are top three, no doubt in my mind. And Klopp deserves this. Klopp deserves stability. Big doubt is what is going to happen to Liverpool after Mo Salah leaves next summer. I think he's going to leave next summer, most possibly. And if he does, who will they replace him with? I think the best replacement possible would be Jamal Musiala. But that would be very expensive, and they will need to at least convince the player and the agent. But that's a bold shout that I'm doing here. But let us know, who would you think is the Mo Salah replacement in the future too? I saw Sané talks. Sané talks too. That wouldn't be the same as Jamal Musiala.
No, but Musiala, what would he cost?
I think it would be like 80 to 100 million to get him out of Bayern Munich. And the thing here with Bayern Munich is, like, we're going to talk more ahead, but, like, there's a lot of reports of Alphonso Davies leaving. Some reports of Kimmich wanting Barca. Some reports of Sané and Jamal Musiala maybe going to the Prem. So Bayern Munich, they might be losing their reign in the next 2 years if they don't make the right decisions. So let's wait and see on that end. But we're talking here on reigns. I wanted to mention here the unfortunate news that we had that Sir Bobby Charlton, rest in peace, one of the greatest English players, if not the greatest English players to play this game, has passed away. Our condolences here at FC Wonderkid. If you don't know him, please do your due diligence and see this history of Bobby Charlton if you love football, because this man was involved in a crash in a Munich plane. Okay, that it's sad news. It was sad at the time that a lot of Man United players passed away, but Sir Bobby Charlton, he survived, and he made sure to make the best career possible and a legacy that would be respected. And he had 758 games, 49 goals, 12 trophies won, and he won a World Cup after this tragedy.
Yep.
So, like, one of the best players ever in the history of this game, Sir Bobby Charlton.
And, I know you don't want to bring it up, Alex, but we do know during that 1966 World Cup win, okay, he did not happen to score against West Germany in the final, but in the semifinal, do you know who he beat and who he scored a brace against?
It was Xabi. I do, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, those two, Eusebio and Sir Bobby Charlton, like, they should be remembered non-stop. I know Pele gets a lot of attention, Maradona, which is completely understandable, but these two players too, like, they are greats. Absolute greats. I love how you mentioned that game too, because that was...
had to.
It was very talked here.
But listen, 86 years in football, and that's a hell of a life. That's a wonderful life, and it's more of a celebration than it is a something that we, not taken away necessarily too soon. But my goodness, has he left a legacy? That's for sure.
It's true. It's true. So Jude Bellingham will have to try and become the best English player ever. But let's wait and see if that's going to happen. But rest in peace, Sir Bobby Charlton. But mentioning greats, I think Man City can be said right now. This Man City team is one of the best Premier League teams ever, no doubt in my mind. They won a European treble, and now this achievement is unreal. Man City have the most consecutive home wins in the Premier League. The Etihad is now a fortress, and it can be said now. This is one of the best English teams ever with Pep Guardiola, with one of the best managers ever too, if not the best too. It's a fortress, the Etihad, right now as we speak. It's unreal what he's done. Like, he's invested a lot of money, but he's invested well. That's the truth, man.
Yes.
Man City.
Very, very few misses on his front, on his watch. But I mean, at some point,
Mm-hmm.
he's got to move on. He's got to move on. I mean, after a treble, how are we? What is success for Pep Guardiola from here on out? It is to do it again and again and again. Is it not?
I agree. I
Yeah.
think he should stay in Man City
Okay.
because no team on earth can offer what Man City can. Guarantees. And he's been there for what, 6 years? He's won 5 Premier League titles in the meantime. He's improved a lot of players that were from academy. Example, Phil Foden. Phil Foden has 5 Premier League titles. He's won 14 trophies. He's been at the club since the age of 4. He's one of the most talented players ever in Manchester City, if not England too. Like, it's what he's done, Pep Guardiola, is create history with this team. So, but to make that happen, I want to say too, Man City have not lost a game with Rodri in their last 36 fixtures. 36. This is the importance of Rodri. When Rodri's not there, this man is irreplaceable. And that's why maybe Rodri will be in the top 5 of the Ballon d'Or, next to De Bruyne and next to Haaland, because of his massive importance, Rodri. Calvin Phillips can't replace him. And we already see news that Calvin Phillips is going to go in January. Already. Okay, so that ain't good news. But I want to mention too Alvarez. Julian Alvarez, 14 appearances this season, 7 goals, 5 assists, 21 million bargain, okay? It's a bargain for what he's done. He's won a World Cup, he's won a Champions League, he's won a Premier League, and people are legitimately saying Alvarez or Haaland. I still think Haaland is better, but longevity-wise, I think Alvarez could be staying at Man City more years because Haaland could maybe have higher ambitions. So the coup of getting Alvarez will be seen as maybe one of the best buys in Premier League history if it goes right. Okay, he's only 23 right now.
Exactly. He's still getting crafted, and what he's been doing at City, winning Pep Guardiola over, it's got to make people feel a whole lot better about the Argentinian future that lies ahead. When you've got Julian Alvarez, you've got guys like Lautaro Martinez, who wasn't exactly, front and center of Argentina's World Cup win, but you've got Lautaro's 26. Julian Alvarez is what? You said 23, 22?
23.
And you've got McAllister behind them. You've got Enzo. I mean, it is a very, very bright future. Sans Messi. Even without Messi, Argentina is going to be a power for many years to come.
You reckon?
You
reckon Argentina without Messi will be stronger than Portugal without Ronaldo? I don't think so.
Well, I gotta see it. I gotta see it first. No, I mean there will be growing pains. I'm sure there will be growing pains, but you can't tell me that the talent isn't necessarily there to create a very, very good team, one that can still rule South America for years to come and go very far in 2026.
Well,
that's for sure.
I think Scaloni did save a lot of things. But the Brazil Federation should be learning from the Argentinian one. Because the appointment of Scaloni was the right decision. And the appointment of Fernandinho for Brazil was the wrong decision. So I'd say those growing pains, they can be solidified, I guess, with the right decision of appointment of manager. So I think that would be my biggest thought. But in terms of talent and group, I think maybe the Portuguese national team will have a better, let's say, list of players. That's where I was going through. But could be. It's a discussion. Never know.
it's definitely a discussion, and one we could do our own topic on this. But I mean, I think we do have to slap back to the Premier League before we move into the Champions League predictions, right? Because I thought Eddie Howe was going to have an issue with replicating last year's wonderful defensive performance. Well, not wonderful, historic defensive performance last season for Newcastle. And I'm wrong so far, and I will happily admit that I would be wrong. There really hasn't been a reversion to the mean. They have one of the best defenses still in the Premier League. In fact, some of these guys within their defense probably already make the all-time list of defenders in Newcastle history at this moment in time. The Fabian Schär reawakening or reimagining, whatever you want to call it, is just unbelievable to me. Now, that's Eddie Howe, right? That's definitely part Eddie Howe. It's part man management. It's part the system, whatever you want to call it, okay? But I was not expecting what he's been doing with the offense, with the attack, okay? To put 4 goals up, right? 4 goals up in this win over the weekend. To have guys like Alexander Isak, Callum Wilson, to have reimaginings of guys like Almiron, Joelinton, Longstaff. These, to have the craziness of the Sandro Tonali betting scandal hanging over their heads, and to still put in performances like this after a 3-game losing streak. Eddie Howe is winning me over as somebody that definitely deserves even more plaudits than he's currently getting. It's just very, very impressive what is happening at St. James Park. And they're going to have another test this week against AC Milan. But come on, they've put 4 past PSG. They've put 8 past Sheffield United. They are the best.
They're going to play Dortmund. Dortmund.
Oh, it's Dortmund. You're right. I'm sorry. It's Dortmund. I thank you for that. But when it's pretty dang impressive that when you look at the Premier League table, it is not Manchester City on top of goals scored. It is not who else? Liverpool on top of goals scored, or Arsenal. It is Newcastle. Newcastle United, one of the best defenses in the league, and as of right now, from a team perspective, with a guy like Kieran Trippier leading the league in assists, you've got a hell of an offense too, and they haven't even started spending yet. Alex, they haven't started spending a lot
yet. Spending big, they still haven't, but they still spend big with Alexander Isak, Botman. Those 2 players cost more than 100 million together.
They did, and there was a
more.
6 to 12 month. There was a 6 to 12 month. Like, yeah, they haven't even started throwing that weight around. We know
agree.
that.
I agree with that.
We know that for a fact. And in fact, one of the ones that we were just talking about Cole Palmer, Manchester City. One of the ones I was incredibly skeptical about, with English tacked on there, a guy like Anthony Gordon. Anthony Gordon getting pulled over from Everton, leaving a bad situation for a much brighter situation. Well, it's amazing what a change in atmosphere, what a change in experience, what a change in coach, what a change in stability does for a player, because Anthony Gordon is he's probably not worth the money they've spent so far, but he is certainly getting there in my
for
book.
Newcastle, he could be right now because he's had some important games. I'd say maybe this season, Almiron, Anthony Gordon, they could be seen maybe in sharing the weight of responsibility. But going with what you said, Newcastle show enormous mental resilience. They struggled at the beginning of the season, but they have the right pieces. The right manager, Eddie Howe, and the right captain, Kieran Trippier. They are the people that represent that mental resilience physically, and they are doing so good right now, okay? Newcastle are unbeaten in their last 8 games. They've scored 29 goals in their in 12 games in all competitions right now. And it's Callum Wilson. It's Alexander Isak. It's Bruno Guimaraes. It's Anthony Gordon. It's a strong group. They are going to go through in the Champions League, because this is a hard team to beat in St. James Park, like we saw with PSG. This is a solid group created in such a short period of time by Newcastle, a group that the fans must be honored to watch. They must be hopeful that they're going to win a Premier League title in the next 5 years, because that's the dream that can be conceivable right now, okay? And yes, Trippier is top in assists. That's what you gotta say. In the Premier League, he's doing so good, and no player has more assists than Kieran Trippier. So that's what you gotta see. The captain doing what he's gotta do.
And he's 9 games in? 9 games in, he's already 1 assist away from last year's tally of 7. So he's stepping up, he's leveling up, and this is a guy that, you take him away. Obviously, Newcastle is maybe a little bit of a different team, but they're getting it from everyone within their side. It's not just one star. It's not just, is Erling Haaland going to score 5 goals or something like that? And I really shouldn't even say that as a knock on City, because he hasn't been the focal point of City for the year. But what they are getting it from all sides, and I think that is a testament to what Eddie Howe does. To every player has a role to play in the team, and it's yeah, okay. I gave him a little shtick for that 3-game losing streak earlier this year, but they have come back with a vengeance, and I agree with you. I think they will get through a very hard Champions League group. And they will be, I'm not going to say a dark horse or anything like that, but they're going to be a tough thorn in the side of whoever they play in that knockout round. For sure.
It's true.
Sure.
And you were mentioning Champions League, so it does make sense to talk about it right now. Champions League round 3 predictions. Okay, people. We've gotten a lot of them right, but we've got some wrong. So let us know what you think is right and wrong in this video. Don't forget to like this video too, because the Champions League is always the best competition in Europe to see, and so many exciting moments come from it. And right now, the leading goal scorers of the Champions League are both in Manchester, with Julian Alvarez and Rasmus Winterheulen with 3 goals scored. Alvarez has an assist too, going with those 3 goals. So what a season he's going to be having in the Champions League. I believe he will. So Tuesday, we got an interesting game here to start with. Group A, Galatasaray, Bayern Munich. Right now, they're the top 2 of this group. What do you think's going to happen, Breton?
Well, I think this is the one that Galatasaray has probably had circled as, if anything is going to screw up our 22-game unbeaten streak from dating back to last season, it likely is going to be this game. But you've also mentioned some unevenness in the Bayern camp. I think Galatasaray is good enough to get a point out of this game. It is at home. Bayern will be coming in to Turkey to get this done. Davinson Sanchez and Bardashi, I think is his name. Their other center back has been very, very good for them. And Lucas Torreira has been very good, and he hasn't really gotten a whole lot of love this season. Yeah. And Aktürkoğlu, I'm a big fan of, but listen, they're not going to have a Icardi, and that's an issue. So whether or not they play for a draw, I'm not entirely sure. I doubt it, but I do think Bayern obviously has enough firepower, Harry Kane, that they likely will end Galatasaray's 22-game unbeaten streak. And my goodness, what a run it has been.
Harry Kane has 11 games, 10 goals, 5 assists. So that streak is going to be put to the test completely.
Yes, it will.
I'm going to go here with Bayern Munich because I do think that they have everything to win this game. I do respect Galatasaray's great form, but right now, Leroy Sané, Jamal Musiala is confident now with the German team too. Kimmich wants to show that he's a world-class player. It's in these moments. And I think a lot of Man United fans will be hoping that Galatasaray can make something happen, but Bayern Munich will have to just show their dominance in this group. And I think they're going to win this one. Do you agree?
I'm going to have to agree on this one, although I think Galatasaray does have enough to at least get a draw here. But no, going into this without Icardi is going to be tough because Icardi scored quite a bit. Relatively, I think it was Besiktas. They beat over the weekend 2-1, and he scored both goals before bowing out with injury. So I got all the respect in the world for Galatasaray, but I think Bayern's going to win this one. But the fun one, the fun next game is Manchester United. Is Manchester United versus Copenhagen, because I would pay a whole lot of money to see the Højlund brothers, the trio of brothers, actually face each other on the field. And I don't think it's going to happen. Rasmus obviously will likely start for United, but Copenhagen, for some reason that still do not know because they haven't been listening to our podcasts, there are twin Højlund brothers that play for Copenhagen. And one of them, most likely the midfielder, I think that's Oscar, or maybe that's Emil. One of them has a chance to actually play, but it's very unlikely they'll be on the pitch at the exact same time. But how cool is that? 3 Højlunds, 1 stadium. That's fun.
And pay attention to Rooney Bargi, the Swedish Wonderkid that could surprise a lot of people at Old Trafford. And when a Wonderkid surprises at Old Trafford, the world seems to know about him straight after. Remember Inaki Williams and Munyain.
Oh, yeah.
They went hella bold when they were Wonderkids. I could see Rooney Bargi becoming a well-known name after this game at Old Trafford. I'm going to say United because this is a mandatory win, not just for their hopes in going through in the Champions League, but to solidify themselves as a Europa League team if they don't go through in their third place. So I got to say United has to win this game. Do you agree?
Yeah, I do agree with that. And I think if there's another player that needs another big game to build momentum, it's going to be Harry Maguire.
True.
Because Eric Ten Hag has got his back, that's for sure. And he put in a man of the match performance that for some reason people are starting a narrative that, Harry Maguire's been mistreated and this and that. It was against Sheffield United, people.
Exactly.
Please.
Exactly.
Just back off, okay? If he starts doing it routinely, then I'm sure people will start to switch their narratives some and they'll give him a little more credit, but come on. It was one performance. We'll go from there. But Højlund also needs Rasmus Winter Højlund, the older brother. He needs some goals too. And what a fun way to do it than against the team your two brothers play for.
It's true. And remember last season that Man United were in the Champions League. Ronaldo was scoring the goals, and they weren't doing too good in the Premier League. So Rasmus Winter Højlund in the Champions League this season could be the scapegoat or maybe the bad form in the Premier League. Because if they go through, a lot of Man United fans will be starting to pay a lot more attention in the Champions League games. So that could be a positive beam if it goes well. So Group D, we got Inter Salzburg. This is a game that we'll get a lot of answers from it. And I'm going to say this. Inter right now are one of the most exciting teams in Europe, no doubt in my mind. And they are dark horses to go to a final of the Champions League once again. They've got the players. They got Di Marco, Bastoni, like Lautaro, like Mkhitaryan, Sanyanoglu, Dumfries, that is a master in assists too. So start to pay a lot more attention to this team that even a Marco Thuram was the right decision to go get. So I think Inter are going to win this game, and they're going to win with maybe a goal suffered of Roko Simic. Shout out to you, Roko, and I hope this game goes well against Inter. Valuable experience that Roko will be playing in San Siro, a stadium that his father played, Dario Simic, at AC Milan.
That is amazing. Well, I hate to say it, but I really, and you've heard me say it before, and you've given me a little bit of a shtick for actually saying it, but Gerhard Struber is not the guy to be leading Salzburg forward again. I'll say it, I'll shout it from the rooftops. They dropped points over the weekend in the Bundesliga, which anyone that follows the Austrian Bundesliga knows that is unheard of. And I think,
though.
Yes,
was it Lask?
It was Lask. Yeah,
Lask is a good team,
but they are a good team. But come on, I mean, just come on. And it's not the first time. I mean, Salzburg is not that dominant this season. So this is I don't like the way Struber plays. I didn't like the way he played with the Red Bulls in MLS, and I don't like him here. So we'll see what happens. But they have not found a replacement for Matthias Jassel, who is now in Saudi Arabia. And I'm sorry if I butchered that last name again, but I agree with you on Inter. I'm starting to see the light. Marcus Thuram is one of the top assisters in Serie A. Lautaro Martinez is almost double Victor Osimhen in terms of goals in Serie A. And I understand this is not the Champions League, but it just shows how effective this team is playing together. And I feel like they're just getting started. And I have to say, the leader in big chances created in Serie A, he plays for Inter Milan. Do you have any idea who it might be?
No Barella? No, Di Marco. I'd say Bastoni. Bastoni or Di Marco?
You got it. Alessandro Bastoni. Back.
I've been watching them play. Bastoni's crucial for that build-up play. Those long passes and that left foot. He's one of the best left-footed center backs in the world. No doubt. I have no doubt saying that. And if Inter can retain Bastoni, Di Marco, Barella, Lautaro, that is a legacy team right there in the next 5 years.
It is.
I like that. It makes them Serie A contenders every single year. Something that we remember in the past. Juve, they were dominant like that. So, that's an interesting one. I didn't know he was actually the top guy in chances created, but it makes total sense in my view. But there's another game too in Group D that Benfica Real Sociedad on Tuesday too. What are your thoughts about that? Because people at home, you're gonna So, you know I'm Portuguese, so I want to hear first from you, Breton.
Well, I think Real Sociedad is definitely good enough to eke out at least a point here. And if Benfica is not careful, they could steal all 3 points. Takefusa Kubo is what, third in goals scored
5
in La
goals.
Liga at the moment in time. Yep. And I know there's quite a few that are at that 5 number, but he has been absolutely a joy to watch for Real Sociedad. And there's a supporting cast that is all healthy behind him that Benfica really needs to come out punching.
I agree.
And I don't think we, tell me if I'm wrong, but I don't think we've seen Benfica at their best yet this season.
I agree. But we've seen Benfica beat Porto twice. So that's a good result for Benfica. But I agree with you. We haven't seen the same Benfica that we saw last season, as stable as a team as they were. And why is that? Because Benfica lost Gonçalo Ramos, Grimaldo, and Enzo Fernandes. And they only replaced one of those players, which was João Neves with Enzo Fernandes. I'm not saying he's as good as Enzo Fernandes, but I'm saying he does the job, and he's going to be such a baller. For all the listeners, please pay attention to João Neves in this Champions League game against Real Sociedad. He emulates the passion, the conviction, and every Benfica's fans' hearts on the pitch. He's going to be balling out guaranteed. He was called up for Portugal and at 19, okay? So this is a player that you should be paying a lot more attention, a Wonderkid. But yes, if Benfica, this is a prediction I'm going to do. If Benfica are going to beat Real Sociedad at home, they must play Musa in front with Orsens, Rafa, and Di Maria. Frederick Orsens must be playing at the left wing because off-ball, defensive duties, he's one of the best players in the Champions League. I'm very confident saying this. Frederick Orsens. And if you don't know about him, you might as well know him now. He's played 8 positions. 8 positions since he's arrived at Benfica. Fullback, winger, midfield, he can do everything. Striker, I still haven't seen goalie. And look how I say it. I still haven't seen, because I'm not going to doubt Frederick Orsens. He's been vital, okay, with Roger Schmidt. I think Benfica are going to win this game because it's a must-win game, okay? And if Benfica don't win it, it's even going to be complicated for them to go to the Europa League. And the games at home, they must lock them in. Because this is a tough group, man. This is like a group of death. With Real Sociedad, Salzburg, and Inter, every team is top. Top team. So, Benfica, come on. Go bold and win it.
But this midfield is just so underrated in La Liga for Real Sociedad. I know you're going to be talking the Benfica side, which is why I feel the need, because I love this matchup. This is a game I want to watch. I'm going to be watching whatever their kick around thing, so I won't be able to catch the whole game, which kind of stinks. But Brais Mendes, you've got Martin Zubamendi, you've got Mikel Merino, and they actually have started to play Arsene Zakarian, who was one of the best players, one of the best young players in the Russian Premier League. And I love this midfield because it's just getting crafted out. You've got Aryarzabal, you've got Takefusa Kubo in a win over Mallorca this weekend, came off the bench and scored. I think he scored the goal or assisted the goal. So their front 6 or so is just incredibly intriguing and very, very dangerous. So this is one of my favorite matchups of this entire match week, for sure.
Because this match will be very important for the whole season of both teams. But yes, Merino, what a player, okay? Defensive mid of Real Sociedad. But let us know your predictions until now. Are you agreeing with us? If not, tell us down below. And don't forget to like this video for more predictions of game weeks just like this one. Oh, Group B now. I'm going to go here with the blockbuster for many London fans, okay? Sevilla, Arsenal. Sevilla that drew with Real Madrid this past weekend. A match that was quite heated against Rudiger against Ramos. Sergio Ramos versus Rudiger. I hated to see that. But I love to see the hugs at the end of Bellingham with Ramos. A legend and a legend in the making, both together.
The video of Sergio Ramos trying to put a smile on Rudiger's face is just... It's just wonderful. I think we'll see that again and again. But I think it's going to get heated in this one too. Sevilla, Arsenal. And this is in Sevilla. So what do you think.
I go
I
Arsenal.
mean, heading into this,
I go Arsenal.
You think Arsenal's going to win? Okay.
I think Arteta will be. Look, I'm not gonna say because Arteta's Spanish, he knows a lot about Sevilla. But what I gotta say is, I'm sure Arteta knows how to beat Sevilla at home. I'm very confident of the coaching of Arteta, because if you see that Chelsea game, they come back from 2-0 losing to 2-2. So this team shows a lot of resilience, and I think Bukayo Saka, if he's back, he's definitely going to be massively. No, he is going to be back. He's going to be massively important for this fixture. So my doubt is if Gabriel Jesus is going to score the goals, but I'm going to go with Arsenal too. I believe Arsenal are going to win this game.
Okay, and I will hedge, and I will say I think it's going to be another draw. I think the Arsenal comeback was jump-started more so, or completed more so, by the fact that Robert Sanchez gifted them with some cruddy distribution from the back, gifted them a goal and some impetus that eventually led to the Trossard goal too. So I think it's going to be tougher than people give them credit for, and I think Arsenal getting a point in Seville is not the worst thing in the world.
But we
Move
agreed
on,
that
dust it off, and
Arsenal's going to finish top in this group in the Champions League, right?
Yeah, we do. And because the other two, Lens, even though that loss was interesting, and PSV Eindhoven, Arsenal's the only team that's actually put PSV Eindhoven in their place, because obviously they are killing it in the Eredivisie, which we'll get to. So, yeah, I still think Arsenal's going to land on top here, which is why I think 1 point is good. And then, yeah, they'll be fine their final three.
That's an interesting one, and I hope to see Thomas Partey starting this game. That I think was one of the biggest struggles against Chelsea. I didn't like Jorginho too much in that game. But you said PSV. I'm gonna go with PSV in this game. Okay, they're unbeaten in the Eredivisie. Only wins because of Bakayoko, Noah Lang, one of the most exciting young duos in the wingers, okay? In wingers conversation, okay? So I think PSV are going to win this game with Joey Veerman. That you love Joey Veerman having a masterclass in this one.
I am about ready. I don't buy shirts with names on the back, but I am ready to get a Joey Veerman shirt. Now, I just think he's such an underrated playmaker, and he needs to take the next step out of the Eredivisie to maybe solidify that. And I'll be honest, I'd love to know in the comment section where people think his next step should actually be. But you mentioned it. Bakayoko's on fire again these days. Luke de Jong has cooled off a little bit, but I mean, if you've got Goose Till scoring in 5 consecutive Eredivisie games coming in, they've just got these interchangeable parts, and they play a very attractive style of play. They've won 9 in a row in the Eredivisie. They're 9-0, no draws. They've scored over 30 goals, so they do it in a very, very attractive fashion, but it doesn't change the fact that when you go to the Champions League, you play much better teams on par. And Arsenal put them in their place. And either they learn from it and beat Lyon in France, which some other teams have struggled to do, then it's got to get done. It's got to get done. So I think PSV, this will be hopefully. I did say originally I didn't think Sevilla was going to go all the way through. I said it was going to be Arsenal, PSV in second. So PSV does need to get these 3 points for that to be a real possibility.
And it's starting to be more and more likely that that's going to be the case, because this PSV team is balling out, just like you said. Luke de Jong or Ricardo Pepi. They've got options. So, yes, I'm going to go with PSV 2 on this one. Last group of on the Tuesday, we have here a huge match. I would love to go to Braga to see this one, because Braga, Real Madrid, okay, people? Real Madrid is going to go to the Pereira. What are your predictions on this one, mate? I'm shook, mate.
Yeah. Oh. I mean, that's just, what a game to be at. I mean, I feel like that's pretty historic. Is this the first time Real Madrid has ever visited?
I don't know officially, but I think it is. I haven't recalled of such a big team going to the Braga Stadium. Like, Real Madrid. Jude Bellingham is going to be in the Braga Stadium? Like, unreal.
That's awesome. Well, obviously Braga are going to need to get something from this to hold things. And I think there is a weak chink in the armor of Real Madrid, and that is their ability to actually deal with crosses. I saw and was able to verify that their 10 goals conceded this season, 8 have come from a cross. From not being able to deal with a cross. And a lot of that has to do with the fact that Eder Militao has been injured. He was their aerial presence for the most part. And then when you put Alaba in there, it seems like teams, at least in La Liga, have figured out how to get that. Now, the issue is Vinicius and Rodrigo, and they're scoring goals left and right, and Jude Bellingham too. So just because you know how to potentially score against them doesn't mean you can actually do it. So Braga's going to have to I don't know. Get creative. But yeah, I got to say Real Madrid is going to win this.
And this will be a good showcase of the talent that Braga has. Braga has Al Musrati, that for me is a Premier League defensive mid-level type player. They've got Simon Banza, Abel Ruiz, Ricardo Horta, that is selected for the Portuguese national team, the best Braga player ever, and Bruma. Bruma is balling out this season and is the best player of Braga, in my opinion. And Alvaro Jallo. What a buy that he was. Remember these names because they're going to be involved in football in the next 10 years at the highest level, in my view. Braga has talent. And Niakite, the center back, he's young too. Good player. Next to José Fonte, the experience. And Motinho. Braga got João Motinho. So that was an interesting move too. I'm going to say a draw maybe. No, but if Braga gets a draw, it's a win, okay? But the most likely to win, obviously, is Real Madrid. So I just wanted to say to the spectators, because some people can be putting a bet or two after seeing this video. And I don't want to be deceiving you with the decision, because Real Madrid is more likely to win this game, in my view.
But from a bet perspective, I'm not going to say I'm comfortable saying, but I don't think it's out of the question that Braga strikes first.
I think Braga can score, yeah. Both teams scoring is
I think Braga
reasonable.
Can strike first. And, all bets are off, literally and figuratively if they score first. And Real Madrid starts to actually fight for the game and work for it. But that midfield, Valverde and Camavinga, and I mean, it'll be a spectacle, especially for those that are going to the game. You need to go to the game, Alex. Get to that game.
Benfica Real Sociedad. But let's wait and see. It's a nice one too. Kubu live? Come on. But Union Berlin Napoli.
This is a fall from grace type of situation.
Braga beat Union Berlin.
Braga beat Union Berlin. Union Berlin have lost 8 in a row after winning their first 2. So this is the purest definition of we honestly need to score some goals, win some points, or we are in trouble. I mean, they could even be in the relegation zone in the Bundesliga by the end of the season if they're not careful, because
Ajax
it's Ajax vibes, except obviously Union Berlin's story over the last 6-7 years has just been insane. So sometimes a really quick rise is also met with a relatively quick demise, but I hope I'm wrong about that. But Union Berlin's bad form and married with Kvaratskhelia cooking again for Napoli leads me to believe that Napoli is going to wipe the floor with them. I think the only saving grace here for Union Berlin is the fact that Victor Osimhen is out. That's the only saving grace here. So we'll see. But Union have lost 8 in a row. And that, there's only one way to fix that.
I'm not going to say Osimhen. I'm not going to say Raspadori is as good as Osimhen, but I think Raspadori could be scoring in this game. Seeing how things are,
he's got a chance.
8 in a row, and Kvaratskhelia played really well, this weekend. Kvaratskhelia could be back to his best form in this game, too. So I'm going to go Napoli, too.
Yeah. Okay. I had a feeling, but he just needed to link up with his Georgian teammates, have a good game or two during the international break, and he is back to scoring. I think he scored a brace over the weekend versus Verona. So it's nice to have Kvaratskhelia back, even if the other half of that wonderful duo is not quite healthy. But yeah, Napoli's going to win, and Napoli's going to need this win in Group C to solidify second place to, I think, hold off the challenge of Braga. But Braga... It's a win. C is a fun group.
It's a win for Braga to go to Europa League. So I just want to say that to Braga fans, and it's excellent to see a Portuguese team not named Sporting Porto, or Benfica to be in this decision and in the highest level, because the Champions League is just that. So Group E on Wednesday, we have Feyenoord Lazio. Arne Slot's boys, I think they're going to win this because Santiago Jimenez is unstoppable. Unstoppable.
Unbelievable.
What is he doing? Mauricio Sarri will have a plan, but I don't think he can contain the Mexican striker.
I think the only thing that's going on here is there is a question mark around Santi's health. That's it. He apparently left the game after, I don't know, scoring a goal and having a couple assists or something. But he was forced to exit with an injury, and I have not seen anything about how serious it is. So please tell us below if that's the case, because without Santi Jimenez, I mean, they could put Igor Paixão up top, I'm sure, and he would do just fine.
He's good.
But the Santi Jimenez Express, especially for Feyenoord, is a very real thing. He's got 13 goals, 3 assists in 8 Eredivisie appearances, and he has been chomping at the bit to be here, to be ready for a Champions League opener, and who best to do it against than Lazio. But behind him, even if Jimenez can't go because he's injured or something, you got to give more credit to Calvin Stengs and what he's done after a few injury-riddled years, trip to Nice, trip to Royal Antwerp, and now he is back in the Eredivisie, where he started with AZ Alkmaar back in the day, but now he's killing it with Feyenoord. 3 goals, 6 assists this season in 9 appearances, and I really feel that even if Jimenez is out, they will still at least get a point against Lazio. This Lazio team should not scare them.
I'm going to say Feyenoord wins it, actually, in Rotterdam.
Yeah?
I believe in them. I believe in Arne Slot a lot more. Because Arne Slot brought him to their Conference League final. So, twice. Yeah. So I think they can do good against Lazio, and I'm going to go with Feyenoord. But in the same group, we got Celtic.
Yes.
That at home, they're always a terrific team against Atletico de Madrid. And it's not Real Madrid, but Atletico de Madrid is balling out right now, okay? They're top 3 in La Liga. Griezmann is unreal. Griezmann in 2023 in La Liga has 17 goals and 11 assists. Okay, so
crazy.
It's Griezmann's time. He's all those FM stats are on his head, and he's putting them in action. Oh my days.
Absolutely. He apparently is only 8 goals away from becoming the all-time leading goal scorer in Atletico Madrid history.
Oh, he's going to do that. Unreal achievement by Griezmann. He's going to be one of the most underrated players in the history of football for what he's done for France and now Atletico.
I would have to agree. I think it'd be nice to see him not end. I mean, he's only 31, 32 years old, but he has everything setting up nicely for a run at the next Ballon d'Or, or a run in the top 3 or top 5 of the next Ballon d'Or if France can do wonders in Euros. But it's amazing to me because the whole Barcelona thing really kept him in that underrated because
it's true.
I don't know how to say this best, because a lot of people felt when he was having issues, trials and tribulations at Barcelona, it was the fact that he was overrated or whatever. But it has led to people underrating him ever since then. And I think he's actually preferred it that way because he has been underrated playing for France, which is really hard to do considering France is a favorite in pretty much every matchup they go into. And on top of that, what he's done at Atletico Madrid, when we were literally making fun of him last season about, he's going to play his 19 minutes off the bench and he's going to do this and he's going to, it is amazing to me what Antoine Griezmann has done. With that said, this is Celtic Park. There is a 12th man. They always have a chance to win at Celtic Park. But Atletico Madrid, or, Antoine Griezmann Madrid right now, even with all the injuries that they've got, they're going to win this. They're going to win this.
I don't think we were making fun of him, but it was the fact that if he played more than 30 minutes, Atletico de Madrid would have to pay a lot more than they did to get Antoine Griezmann. So it was unfortunate that he was left in a situation like that. It wasn't shown a lot of respect, but Barca had to fix a problem, and Atletico had to gain a world-class player. And both teams,
It's true.
that's what happened. So I think
Yeah.
Atletico could be winning this game, but I'm going to say, because out of respect for Celtic, let's go. Get a draw, okay? Get a draw in this game. Show the resilience, show the home fortress, show the history that you've shown in the past against top teams. Come on, Celtic Glasgow.
Yeah, and a quick shout out to a Honduran, a CONCACAF, he's coming up. He's not yet really well known within CONCACAF, but Luis Palma has been phenomenal since he came over to Celtic. Another great find for them. They plucked him out of the Greek Super League, and he has hit the ground running there. So hopefully he gets some time against Atleti because he's a fun watch, even if I don't like rooting for Honduran players. But he's a good find for Celtic, and they've been very good at quote unquote finding good finds thanks to Big Ange and what he had set up previous to him moving on. So cool.
That's true.
But
that's
Atleti
true.
wins. They're too strong. Too strong.
And now in Group H, which is it's a not a difficult game. It's a difficult game for Shakhtar. Barcelona Shakhtar. I think both of us we have Barca winning this game. Am I right, Breton?
It's a tune-up for one of the biggest matches of the season, or one of the best footballing weekends of the season, which is next weekend, right? We've got the Manchester Derby and we've got El Clasico,
Exactly.
on top of a whole bunch of other games going on. But Barcelona will use this as a tune-up. They've got Balde back. They've got Yamal back. They would love to have De Jong back, but we'll see. And I just think that's what they're going to be looking at. I think if Shakhtar's not careful, this could get out of hand.
I agree. It could get out of hand. It got out of hand with Antwerp, in which João Felix had an absolute masterclass. And on Barca, I want to say this season, Gavi has clearly shown this season that he's a leader, and he's under 20. Okay, Gavi right now is one. I'll say Gavi this season is a top 3 player for Barcelona in terms of importance. The retention on ball that he's been having, dictating the tempo, the consistency, and the intensity in duels that Gavi has is unreal at such a young age. And I'm going to say he's a must-start for Spain and a must-starter right now for Barcelona. He's put himself in that conversation this season. Last season, he was growing towards it. This season, he is it. He's the guy.
And my favorite part of Gavi is the fact that he has like young Wayne Rooney blood in him. He's a bulldog. I mean, he wears it. He wears his heart on his sleeve, and he fights for everything. You remember Wayne Rooney when he came in, was making tackles as like a 17-year-old that he probably had no business making. And he just had it's not a disrespect, but
it's the audacity.
It's the fact. Exactly. It's the fact that every tackle is important. Everything he does is important, and I love it. It reminds me of when, obviously, 2 very different players, but it reminds me of like that pugnacious, just want to scrap type of feeling that Wayne Rooney brought with him when he came into the league for Everton. And I might be dating myself by saying this, but Gavi doing what he's doing at 19 is
it's a good comparison
unreal.
because I think Gavi won't be leaving Barcelona in the next 5 years. If he leaves, it's because Barcelona want him to leave. But Gavi's pure intention, I think he wants to stay and actually become a legend in this club. And that's beautiful to see because he's got the talent to do that. He can be a top 5 player in the world in the future if he manages to keep on growing with Xavi. And Xavi's showing that he's the right coach to develop these kinds of players like Balde, Gavi, and Pedri. Okay, so going with Group H has another game. That's Royal Antwerp against Porto. Ooh, Antwerp that has Antwerp that has Arthur Vermaelen and Mandela Keita. Both had their debuts for the Belgium national team. Exciting talents, but I think Porto's going to win this game. Sergio Conceição, when it comes to Champions League, when it comes to the big moments, he gets the wins. And this Porto team against Antwerp away is a must-win game for Porto in order to go through. I think Porto will win this game at Antwerp in Belgium.
I'm gonna agree with you here. Antwerp has won 1 out of their last 7, though they do have the talent on the field. I think this is going to be a coming out party in a good way for for Porto's offense. I think it needs to be, because I don't think, I mean, will the real Mehdi Taremi stand up, or Evan Nielsen, or I mean, your leading scorer right now, I believe, it's like still Wanderson, is it not? Galeno?
Yeah, Galeno scored 2 goals against Shakhtar. He turned up.
It's true.
He's a great player.
So I think Porto needs to step it up. And as you already mentioned, right, Benfica's already beaten them twice this year. Porto needs a jump start, because it should be, when all is said and done, it should be Barcelona and FC Porto moving out of this group.
I agree. And Porto, I'm going to say it could be bold for some people. This is a bold statement for some people, but Jo Costa is one of the best goalkeepers in the Champions League right now. He's 23. Okay. He's the starter of Portugal. And this Porto defense hasn't had Pep, hasn't had Marcano, hasn't had Fabio Cardoso and David Carmo constantly playing starting. Okay, they've had to rotate them a lot because of injuries, yellow cards, and Jo Costa has been consistently there. And Porto's got the less goals. They are the team that suffered the less goals in the Primeira Liga right now because of Diogo Costa. He's the key. So I really like Diogo Costa, and I think he'll be vital in this win against Royal Antwerp. Oi, but we got a group of death. We said that the Benfica group could be considered maybe the group of death, but this is actually the group of death of the Champions League Group F. Paris Saint-Germain against AC Milan. Whoa, that's an interesting match that I think Kylian Mbappe will have to go bold and will go bold. Do you agree with me, Bretson?
Kylian Mbappe needs to. He had 7 goals last season, right, in the Champions League, and he's only managed 1 in his first 2 appearances so far, which I know it's like, well, it's only been 2 appearances. It's Kylian Mbappe.
Exactly.
He had 10 goal involvements in 7 Champions League appearances last season, and great. I mean, people like you kicking off 2 braces or scoring 8 goals in the Ligue 1 season, but it doesn't matter if you can't do it here. So AC Milan is a much better team than, last year at this time. But AC Milan have got this gauntlet ahead, because not only do they face, they've got Juve, which unfortunately we're filming this before the Juve game. Then they've got PSG. And then they've got Napoli on the weekend. So it's going to be a massive weekend for Mike Mignon, for Fikayo Tomori, and for the U.S. crew that's part of this. But I think PSG has got to be chomping at the bit, simply because the last time out they got their butts handed to them by Newcastle, who had not played a Champions League in over 2 decades. So
it's true.
We'll see. There's blood in the water here.
I think both teams will score in this game. And Paris Saint-Germain against AC Milan. I think Mbappe is a mandatory goal scorer in this game. Gonçalo Ramos, I would like to see him turn up. I think he can do very good in games like this. But Rafa Leão. If Kylian Mbappe is the best player of PSG, Rafa Leão is no doubt in my mind the best player of AC Milan. Rafa has to turn up big time against PSG, and it could be happening, because when Rafael Leão is in form, he's one of the best wingers in the world. That's why they went through so long in the Champions League last season. It was because of Rafael Leão, until they faced, obviously, Inter Milan, that did beat them in the semifinals. I'm going to say Paris Saint-Germain, because it's a mandatory one for them to go through with Newcastle, that I believe will be passing through in this group. But yes, Newcastle, I'm mentioning. Newcastle Dortmund. What are you thinking here?
Well, I have to throw a little mea culpa out there, because I have been very critical of Dortmund's transfer activity heading into this. They have been very effective. They haven't been playing wonderfully exciting football. I would love for Edin Terzic to actually play a Gio Reyna, which he did play 30 minutes the other day, so we'll see what happens there. But they've been incredibly effective, so I have to give them credit where credit is due, but this is St. James Park. This is Newcastle have not lost in 8, and I just feel like Newcastle is really, really buzzing at this moment in time. So I think it's going to be close, and I think it'll be a 1-0 win for Newcastle. I think the defense will save the day there, and I think Dortmund will maybe come back down to earth so far this season, because I think they've only lost once this season, and Dortmund is very much in the race. But you can't point to anyone in their team that you're like, this is the dude. this is the guy that is going to
Maybe Daniel
tear up
Malen?
Newcastle and St. James Park. Maybe.
Maybe.
I mean, he's been much better. This is the best Daniel Malen that we have seen since he has joined Dortmund. So you have to give him credit there. But Haller is not firing. And it's a good thing. They're still getting results, and they're not firing on all cylinders just yet. So maybe that is a plus, but I just feel like Newcastle is the better unit, the better team. I mean, heck, they're getting a goal and 2 assists from Jacob Murphy. I don't know what to tell you.
No, and that
this week it's gonna.
That assist was 3 passes only to Callum Wilson in a counterattack. It went to Pope, Murray, and then the assist went straight away to Callum Wilson. Like that goal shows exactly the style of play of Eddie Howe. Right there, last weekend against Crystal Palace. So I agree with you. I'm going to go with Newcastle 2 to win this game. Last group.
There it is.
Don't forget, we're in the last group, but come on, please. If you're listening until now, comment down below your predictions until now, and don't forget to like this video. Last group here with Leipzig against Red Star. What are you thinking here? Xavi Simons masterclass.
Lois Openda masterclass. He's going to continue his form from the weekend. He just scored the fastest goal in RB Leipzig history. And I think that's only going to continue because Openda, you got to remember how much
he scored the
fastest
hat trick too in Liga last season.
Did he really?
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, you're right. He did. Oh my, that's for
he just doesn't score for Belgium.
No, he doesn't. And hey, that is a little challenge that should be accepted by Tedesco to get that figured out at some point because he could be a heck of a weapon for them for the future. But no, RB Leipzig, with their roster turnover, they are just figuring out their form. They are just figuring out this squad. They are going to be more of a second half season squad, and they're already strong right now. So I really do believe, I mean, RB Leipzig will get by Red Star, and I also believe that they are going to be one of the dark horses to go further than most people are giving them credit for in the knockout rounds in the season because they'll have a January window under their belt where they'll be able to address some things. And Xavi Simons will actually know how to play more with Lois Openda and all the other new faces within this Leipzig team. So I'm saying Leipzig over Red Star, and I don't think it's going to be close.
And another player that I absolutely love of RB Leipzig is Seifeld. Seifeld will be the key of Austria in the next 10 years and the key of Red Bull Leipzig, especially when Dani Olmo and Xavi Simons leave. He will be given a lot more responsibility, and he's doing really good this season, in my view. I go with RB Leipzig 2 to win this game. And last but not least, the young boys that against Man City, they'll be the old boys on the pitch, okay? They can't keep up with this Man City team in terms of transitions. I go Man City hard, okay, in this game. I think it's the easiest game to predict. Do you agree with me, Breton?
I would agree with you, and I think the only wild card that could be thrown out there is if for some reason Pep decides to rotate. And I still think that they'd be good enough to likely get the win here. So
Rico Lewis and winger?
I think we will see that. We likely will see that. Yeah, you never know.
That would be an interesting thing. I think Oscar Bob will maybe play this game, and the fact that we see Oscar Bob more, that will be something positive. I think Man City win this game confidently in the Champions League. But yes,
well, let's just say if Cole Palmer was still playing for City, this would have been the game where he bags 2 goals and 2 assists.
Oh, but it's good for Cole that we see him at Chelsea because now Cole Palmer can be said that he's an English national team player in the next call-ups, okay? So that's what he's putting himself in the talk for. So people, if you're listening until now to these Champions League predictions, don't forget to leave your thoughts in the comment section and like this video. But last topics here in the podcast, we had to mention Leverkusen, mate. Leverkusen, in their last 11 games, they got 10 wins, 0 losses, and they have the most goals scored in Europe. 39 goals scored with Xabi Alonso ball. Florian Wirtz is balling out. Jeremy Frimpong is balling out. Boniface is balling out. And I'm certain that they're going to be key figures in the world of football in the next 10 years. Boniface, Wirtz, and Jeremy Frimpong. What an unreal job is Xabi Alonso doing. Unreal. Top of the league.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I'm going to ask you the question. It's going to come down the pike at some point, but we were mentioning when we were talking about Arteta, we were mentioning, Spanish managers. If you had to start a team, or no, you were starting a team right now, new club. You had to pick either Xabi Alonso, Xavi, or Mikel Arteta. Who would you take to lead the way?
I think Xavi's doing really good at Barca because he knows Barca. I think Arteta is doing really good at Arsenal because he knows Arsenal. I would say Xabi Alonso maybe. Xabi Alonso, what he's doing, when he started Bayer Leverkusen, they were 16th. Now they're top of the league, competing against a Bayern Munich team that has their best start since 2016-17. I would take Xabi Alonso because just like Zidane, Xabi Alonso can slot in a training session and show how it's done. That's why it's so special. We've seen the tape, those 25 seconds of absolute balling of passes, okay? Beautiful curlers. So I would take maybe Xabi Alonso and Boniface, mate. Boniface is one of the best strikers in the world, and he's just arrived for 20 million to this Leverkusen team. He's got 10 goal involvements, 7 goals, and 3 assists. So I think Xabi Alonso is the reason why a lot is happening, and maybe... No, not maybe. I would pick him. And another thing, too, with this Leverkusen team. It's disrespectful that Grimaldo doesn't get selected for Spain. I'm not saying Grimaldo starts ahead of Balde, but Grimaldo right now is one of the most informed left-backs in the Europe's top 5 leagues. He's got 3 goals and 3 assists right now. Baller, okay? What a move to Bayer Leverkusen with Xabi Alonso. So who would you pick? Who would you pick out of the 3?
You actually, that was my line of thinking, was exactly that. The structure of understanding a team or understanding a club and the personnel and the politics actually does need to play into it. Now, if you separate them, we don't know because we have what Saudi Arabia? Or was he at UAE? Was Xavi at UAE previous to this?
Xavi was at Qatar, I think, yeah.
In Qatar. Okay, yeah, we only have one previous club to this before he lands his flippin' dream job, let's be honest. Xabi Alonso is obviously bringing a new way or a new line of thinking and a new tactic to Bayer Leverkusen and trying to build them up. And at some point, unfortunately, either Xabi Alonso is going to turn him into a super club, or what more likely is going to happen is they will become victims of their own success in that, you'll have Boniface bought for 75 million by who knows, right? Spurs or Liverpool, Newcastle. Exactly. And you'll have Jeremy Frimpong, who finally deserves a whole lot more love than what he's been getting, but he's got to actually replicate that elsewhere. I could see him at like Newcastle or somewhere of that nature, which a lot of people we could see at Newcastle. But listen, I think he's just getting going here. 39 goals scored, just 7 goals conceded, playing incredibly attractive football where it's like ping, ping, ping in the middle, and then boom, they unlock the speeds on the flanks. That's why you've got guys like Grimaldo and you've got Frimpong. You've said it before. They're probably the best flank players, the best fullback tandem in the world right now. And the statistics support that because they have managed or played a part, been involved in over half of those 37 goals that have been scored, or 39 goals that have been scored by Leverkusen. But what's insane to me is that I don't think Xabi Alonso has figured out a way to make Leverkusen's attack as efficient as it absolutely can be. Nobody necessarily wants to talk about it, but Victor Boniface, while he is scoring, he has underperformed his analytics. He has underperformed by a lot his XG. He has underperformed in the sense that he doubles everybody else's big chances missed in the Bundesliga. Doubled them. He's got 13 big chances missed.
I remember this conversation with Haaland last season too, Bretton.
Exactly. Right. This guy can take another step higher. For those people that don't think Boniface can get better, he will get better.
He will.
He will get better. So I think Florian Wirtz has stepped it up a notch, even if it hasn't necessarily turned into goals and assists. I think he is so important before we even talk about the two guys, the facilitators, Xhaka and, oh gosh, why am I forgetting his name?
Hoffman. And Palacios.
Hoffman. Palacios, thank you. Ezekiel Palacios. So I do think you're right. I would pick Xabi Alonso just because he has gone somewhere, quote unquote, foreign, and he has made them an incredibly attractive team. But it's still early days.
It's a prediction right here, and I think Xabi Alonso will be the manager of Real Madrid next season. I think Florentino Perez has a worry when Ancelotti leaves of who will develop Jude Bellingham, Vinicius Jr., Tchouameni, Camavinga, a lot of world-class potential youngsters. Xabi Alonso can do that. And we see with Boniface, Jeremy Frimpong, and Florian Wirtz, 3 world-class potential youngsters right there. They're being developed the right way, ahead of Bayern Munich right now. And Florian Wirtz too. I believe it will be his last season too for Leverkusen, if he doesn't get injured, okay? Bayern Munich or Real Madrid or Barca. One of these 3 teams, I think we'll get him.
Exactly. But this is exactly what I was mentioning, right? It's a victim of your own success type of thing. It'd be great to maybe see Bayer Leverkusen enter into 3-4 years of just playing wonderful football that maybe leads to some Bundesliga titles and breaking the hegemony of Bayern Munich. The issue is if Xabi Alonso is on his way out the door within the next 12 months, Florian Wirtz goes to Bayern Munich. Victor Boniface goes to the Premier League. That is a victim of your own success.
And you find new ones. That's what you gotta do. You find new ones, mate. I think Leverkusen. Look, Dortmund. They
can do it.
Dortmund have been victims nonstop. Okay, but I think Leverkusen can be in the talk now. I think what Xabi Alonso has done is he's put Leverkusen in the same talk as Leipzig, as Dortmund, and now at Bayern Munich this season. So I think that's been bold. And Stuttgart. Stuttgart too is in front of Bayern Munich in the Bundesliga, and it's not because of a manager. It's because of Guirassy, the first player to score 14 goals in the first 8 fixtures in the Bundesliga. He's for sure being scouted by every top team on earth. Guirassy. I was shook. I knew the player, but I didn't know he was this good.
I know. I know. And yes, it is amazing to me that Robert Lewandowski only several seasons ago scored 41 goals, right, in the Bundesliga, and that didn't happen. How is this the first time it's happening when you had guys like Robert Lewandowski, Erling Haaland there relatively recently? But I think the bigger transformation here is it's not just Guirassy. It's the whole team of Stuttgart. I mean, they have a chance to finish the highest up in the Bundesliga that they've finished probably in the last 7 or 8 years, or maybe even longer than that. I don't know, because I can't tell you the last time that Stuttgart has been this high. Stuttgart was fighting for their Bundesliga lives last season. Serhou Guirassy was part of the reason why they stayed in the Bundesliga. But nobody expected this. Currently second place, and Guirassy is definitely the reason why, and that's a Stade Rennais product.
5-0
product that
5-0 win against Freiburg. Like
Union.
Facts. Yeah. But the players that we gotta mention is like Enzo Milo. That is a wonder kid. That was a good snatch. Denis Undav. We know at St. Gilloise, he was balling out, and this was a good move for him. And I like the goalkeeper, Alexander Nubel. He's an under the radar goalkeeper. That's well said. Yeah, this team has some interesting names. Stuttgart.
It does, and I'm gonna say I feel like they'll probably fall back down the table a little bit, but this is a team that went into the Bundesliga this season just wanting to stay in the Bundesliga.
That's true.
I don't think they necessarily expected this, and I think the other name you probably have to throw out there is Chris Furyk, who is a speedster, and he has been a facilitator in the midfield for them. But what's crazy about this is not just Guirassy's goal scoring. They have actually matched Leverkusen and Bayern Munich in goal differential. Okay, they're plus 17. So it hasn't just been like when they open up a can of, it's not just 1-0 wins. These are 3-0 wins, 5-1 wins, 4-0 wins, playing very, very attractive, or for the most part, relatively attractive football, with Guirassy being the train that right now cannot be taken off the tracks. So We'll see. I don't think Lewandowski's 41-goal season is in threat just yet. Would you say?
Well, I don't know if Geras is going to stay until January because, like, there's teams
True.
that need a striker, and that could be something that can happen. But, yeah, Stuttgart last season were fighting for relegation, and they managed to
Amazing.
not get relegated by, what, a goal? 2 goals?
Yeah.
It was really down to the needle. So it's quite good to see that they're ahead of Bayern Munich with their best start since 2016. But if you're listening until now to episode 128, please don't forget to like this video and obviously comment down below your thoughts about episode 128 with Champions League predictions, with Leverkusen, with Premier League. We want to know your thoughts down below. And if you're listening until now, thank you so much for going bold with us in another podcast episode. Take care, people.